Welcome back. You're watching the special edition of the Entrepreneurial SME. My guests are Mudiwa Gavaza, economist, tech enthusiast, and writer at Business Day, and Mpho Matsitse, executive for Business and Digital Advisory, DPS at BCX. We are now also joined by Makgosi Mabaso, managing executive at Telkom Consumer Broadband and Smarthome. We've been exploring technological development in our continent and upskilling youth to be one-day entrepreneurs and active players in the market, or in the e-marketplace as it's called. Makgosi, I'm going to give you the hardest launch pad and take over on something that Dr. Mabaso spoke about, but I did not have a chance to ask him about it. He mentioned something called the YEP platform, and assumed that all of us know these things. Now, I've got a standard 5. I don't know what a YEP platform is. Help me.
Yeah, so YEP platform originates from Yellow Pages. So if you know Yellow Pages, yeah, well, the hair just gives it away, right? So Yellow Pages is a platform long time ago that we created to allow customers to advertise their products and services. Yeah. If you remember, there was a thick book, right? That thick book with the yellow pages in it. Remember that? We also had the white book as well. And that book used to be distributed all over South Africa. So if you're looking for hairdresser, you're looking for gardener, you're looking for all these type of services, you would find them in that Yellow Pages. Then over time, we then decided we needed to evolve it because things are changing. The customer behavior is also changing. Well, let's create a platform called a YEP. And we called it a YEP marketplace. Therefore, what it does is it brings both the consumer and the suppliers into one, right? So those customers that used to be on the Yellow Pages book are now on the platform, right? Advertising their services there. And as much as they're advertising it for free, you also have those SMEs who say, well, I really want to stand out, right? So those will pay a small premium to stand out, so that when myself and Rems come into the YEP platform, we say, oh, here's a hairdresser who's not really far from, far from where I stay, and it really just brings the two together. So it's a platform that allows the supplier and the consumer to find each other.
So normally when people speak to me and I agree with them, I would say, yep. I'll avoid it here because I'm going to sound like a... You also wanted to come in just before we went to the break.
Yes.
You wanted to speak about opportunity costs.
Opportunity costs, Barams. I think what's very important is that we need to also understand the opportunity we miss if we don't take digital transformation seriously. Usually it costs a lot more if we miss the boat to catch up than if we actually take it on, right? And I think one needs to look at the opportunity to be gained, and that can be done through a methodology called value management, right? Which is something that we at BCX help most businesses with, both SME and large enterprise, right? And if people want to learn more about it, they can search Mpho Matsitse on YouTube and they'll find the video on value management. But essentially, it's a concept of unpacking what it is that we're able to do with the little that we have in order to create and unlock new value in the business. See, the beauty of digital transformations, what it does is that when we invest in creating a unique way of unlocking value through digital transformation or leveraging it, is that it opens up an opportunity in terms of the saving on the investment. Because we're either increasing revenue, we're either decreasing costs, or we're mitigating risk. So then the investment ultimately pays for itself over time. So it's not money going out to buy something and then we keep buying on top. We buy and invest in something. It creates and unlocks value. It helps us save something, and we use that same saving to invest in the second part of it. So over time, what you start seeing is a gradual transformation. And hence it's not called digital change, right? It's transformation. We see it over time. So I think that's what
So we've hosted a lot of entrepreneurs on this show. That's what we do, right? Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a case study. On the one hand, we have this young gentleman who comes from the media industry, had a sound engineering company, but then moved on to create a pizzeria in Soweto. Now, this guy has understood your space, right? He's gone digital. He plays in that online space. He's grown his sales and profitability in that space. And on the other side, we have a great woman who got into a tough space, the mining space, as a service provider. And she now trades in more than just South Africa. She's in other African countries. But she has not gone a lot more digital than the other fellow. Now, I find it strange that you would find two enthusiastic entrepreneurs doing amazing work, one adapting to a new revolution and the other not. What would be the impediment? What would make one not see the opportunities? What is lacking? Or could it be, let me rephrase, and it's a leading question, could it be that it's just a personality thing, Mudiwa?
Okay, cool. I think, let me take a crack at it. Certain industries come with certain ways of doing business. In a lot of industries, handshake agreements are still, the order of the day. So I think in certain instances, I think we spoke about it earlier on, as an economist, one of the ways that we always tend to look at things is incentives. What is the incentive of doing something, right? Fitness, right, for example. Fitness is like, it's not a team sport. It's something that you have to take care of yourself. But a lot of people, even if your health is important, they don't usually see the incentive. And I think education sometimes around technology is viewed in the same way. Before someone even gets to technology, they say, what is the incentive? We spoke earlier on about how you can start digitizing people's business records, right, and lead them to a place where they can now have bulk buying arrangements with wholesalers and all that. What the person is interested in that gets them to the technology is not the technology. They'll be like, bulk buying, that's where I want to get. If it's technology that's going to make that happen, let's do that.
That's what I need.
Yeah. And I think in these two particular cases, with obviously, I don't have a lot of context in detail, it would sound like, the lady that we're dealing with in mining has found a formula, and possibly, as far as she's concerned, what she's doing is working. The people that she's having deals with aren't demanding, the digital piece. So she feels like it's not yet time to,
You are nodding aggressively.
It is. And I just think that you nailed it, because it just depends on the type of customers that you're servicing. And from my understanding, just on that case study, she's probably servicing corporates, right? So in a corporate environment, we don't sit and say, let's look for a service provider. Usually service providers, they come knocking on our doors to come and actually introduce who they are, what they do, and why do they believe they're the best people for the job. So, and then if you compare that to the pizza, right, that's a consumer segment. So what does a consumer segment look like? We use our phones, right? So if I'm looking for anything, I start with my phone, say, so where can I find the best pizza in town? And that already then comes into the digital marketing. Then it will then give me an idea. Oh, okay, that pizza, shop is probably around the corner, and that's probably where you can probably do your order. So it just depends on the segment that you are servicing.
But wouldn't you guys say that it's also a case of how fast convergence is happening across those industries? Right? I mean,
I can see it from what you call this, the pizza one. Yeah, definitely. Because this guy probably saw it very easily that for him to make his business a success, he needs to get, as much of a word out there as possible. So you have that convergence of his background in a technical space coming together with the pizzeria, and things are moving forward.
And probably the guy in the mining space got a captive market.
Exactly.
So there is no edge.
Exactly.
Yes, the convergence is slow to the uptake. So what's happening in China, Barams, is that a lot of the banks don't see themselves as banks anymore. They see themselves as retailers. So what they do is they offer an e-marketplace where they sell specific products. So Mudiwa and I say, okay, we want a phone. We go onto the bank's website and we purchase a phone. And maybe I don't have enough money. I can get a loan from the bank on the spot and the phone, and get delivered, and I continue being a customer of the bank. So convergence is fast changing, more in the financial services space, more in the retail space, as you say, the consumer product side, but not so much more on the traditional industries, mining, manufacturing, engineering.
And in the first segment, if you mention the phrase skills gap once or twice, I misheard you, it's probably 18 times. What is it going to take? This is Youth Month, right? And the young people are the next entrepreneurs, they're the next corporate leaders. What is it going to take to bridge this gap? What are we going to do to get ourselves to a point where we are a digitally skilled society?
So it's being active citizens in actually bridging the gap. So what we do as BCX, for example, we invest in a number of youth programs, and I'll mention 3. One is that we look at how do we partner with certain educational institutions to help teach coding, right? So doing coding weeks and imparting those coding skills at a very low level and then up until tertiary and beyond. We also then look at bringing in graduates within BCX, not just to learn technology skills, but to learn other skills such as our data science cohort of students that we bring in as graduates to learn how to leverage data science and how to position data science in the working place, and then help grow the new currency, which is data. Is how do I help grow that within a particular business? And the third thing that we do is then partner with some of the SMEs that we work with on how can we bolster their digital capability with the consulting teams that we have in order to help them become self-sufficient. So in essence, over time, what they end up doing is running their own centers of excellence for technology. Yeah. And then eventually they start being as the pattern passes on. So they can then help another SME that's coming up once they're a little bigger. So those are some of the key programs that we're investing in, but I think active citizenship is...
Makgosi, from your observation where you sit, what are the digital skills and or services that seem to be in high demand for SMEs, in vogue, that they're starting to like and they're using a lot?
Yeah, so I think digital marketing is a big one. I almost feel like SMEs has awakened to the fact that this can really make money for them, right?
Cheaply.
Cheaply so as well. It can make money, so they can sell with it, they can buy with it, they can pay with it, they can market with it. And I think that's quite important. And I'm happy that we are at that point, But I think what we probably need to get to is SMEs really understanding the problem that they need to solve with the digital transformation, because we shouldn't make it a hype, right? It's really meant to be able to increase those markets, to increase the market share. It's meant to increase those revenues, for them. It must work for them. It shouldn't be that, I'm an SME, I'm digitally transformed, those type of things. No. That SME must actively be able to see how that actually evolves how they do their business, So I'm seeing a lot of the SMEs making effort in going and understanding how do I position myself better? How do I make sure that I'm using alternative channels, so that I can have customers that can actually buy your products.
And culture is a big
It's such a big thing. It's really such a big thing.
Barams, if you'll allow me.
You're already allowed, my brother.
I was just going to ask them, because I like this place that we are at in the conversation, a lot about the skills, how do we bridge that? But in terms of supporting the programs that you're talking about, the 3 working with educational institutions, what skills are in vogue right now? My question is just, as people that are in a technical sector, right? You guys are the ones, as Telkom, as BCX, that are employing these people technically. How do you, I guess, influence curriculums, right? Because, for example, coding is not, to borrow your word of hype, right? There was a big hype around coding, in the 2000s. Then I think the 2010s, it was all about, data analytics. And in this moment that we're in, everyone and their cat is talking about generative AI.
Yes.
Right? So how do you, I guess, influence curriculum so that people can still be relevant, a decade from now?
And if you don't, let me add to that question. Thank you very much, my brother. You're threatening my job. If you look at other business skills over the years, there's been a lot of incubation programs to walk along school curriculum to help people to understand things. Could there be an opportunity then maybe to incubate SMEs and other people to understand this world if it's not going to be part of the curriculum?
So maybe let me give it a shot.
Ladies first, yes.
So we adopt a lot of schools from Telkom, and part of that includes the incubation of coding, for example, in there. And I think you are spot on. I'm of the view that, look, our education system is quite structured, in its...
is that good or bad? You don't have to answer.
Yeah,
Continue.
it can be good. It can be good. All I'm saying is we have an opportunity to actually bring in these digital skills in this framework that is structured. You know, I'm not looking for changes. I'm saying in its framework, let's bring in, you know, some of those things that you're actually talking to. Because then if you think about it, all of us here, we've been in classrooms, it's been structured. We've understood a whole lot of things in that format. So there's nothing wrong in actually coming. So as part of the adoption of the schools, we are also hoping that over time, we are then able to then allow, you know, as we work closer with the Department of Education, to then allow that to be part and parcel of the curriculum, and no longer just to be something that is on the side that we run after school, for example, and kids have choice, you know, to say, do I want to attend, don't I want to attend? So I almost think that opportunity exists. And not only should it happen in the primary school and the high school, we should take this forward, even in the higher education. So it's really important that in the entire spectrum of our understanding of the education framework, it must then cover it in its totality. I just think that that's an opportunity that we're missing, and I think that's the effort that we are putting on the table in line with the Department of Education.
You have second take.
Second take, yeah. And I mean, I think Makgosi is making some really, really valid points. I think for me is the compelling event for change is not strong enough at this point in time. I think Mudiwa will argue it is very strong enough that we need to change. With the one continent that has the youngest population, the fastest growing, and the potential for greatness and opportunity on this continent doesn't exist anywhere else. But, you know, for some reason we are lacking in driving rapid change. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of what it will do, and we are missing the opportunity for the compelling event, which is a lot more value being created in the market than what we currently have. I mean, we are second highest with an unemployment rate at the point in the world at the moment. And we are not going to bridge that gap by doing things traditionally and by doing the same things we've done over the last couple of years. They've worked up until a point. We are at a pivotal time where we need to spark change. And for me, it's a mindset and a culture shift, which is key to happen at the moment.
So, we have little time left. Digital transformation comes with a lot of advantages, right? One of them is like we now can live in a cashless society. I mean, I walked into a shop and somebody was using their watch to pay stuff and blah, 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 blah. You know, it takes away the crime factor and all of those things. But outside data, there is another impediment. It's called electricity. So when I have done all these things and converted, at some point I could be not trading because there's no lights. What are the mitigating instruments or tools or systems that are out there to make sure that I continue to trade even when...
Look, there's quite a few, Barams. I mean, from a BCX perspective, what we have is investing in three parts. One is through cloud technology, which allows you to be anywhere and anytime and then upload when you're offline. And then when you're online, then update, right? So that cloud agnostic nature is helping businesses across the board to also scale beyond South African borders and start providing some of the services beyond that and create new revenue streams. The second is what we look at as IoT, or some of those key devices that we're investing in.
Speak English.
The Internet of Things, right? Okay. So allowing devices to be connected to one another at a point in time to give you insight into whether something is going to be down or not at a particular time. So if we know that Barams is drinking water out of this glass, but this water will be finished in an hour, we are able to then supplement that with a different glass of water at a particular time to mitigate some of these load shedding schedules, because I think some of the beauty in load shedding is that there is a schedule. And you know, I won't go into more of that. And then the last one is what Mudiwa spoke about is generative AI, which is a space that we're heavily investing in helping our SME community understand what does that mean. You know, the likes of ChatGPT, people are scared.
I think our next conversation has to be on this.
Yes.
But I want to ask you the final question.
Yes. Sure.
What's next? What is next that's going to be trending, that's going to make it so beautiful for SMEs to feel like, wow, we're in the new world and we're catching up with China and other people?
Yeah, I think for me, Rams, it will be the platforms, right? So SMEs, they're really missing the opportunity that they can be big just by being part of some of the big platforms that's out there, you know. I'll give you an example. Yep is a platform on its own, that's fine. You've got Alibaba, it's a platform on its own. You know, you've got the Shein, that's also a platform on its own, you know. So I think platforms are going to be very big. And I'm really looking forward to SMEs to really catch a wake on that, because that's where I think they'll probably make quite, you know, their market share will probably increase. They'll have to think about their business not in isolation anymore, you know, but become something, part of something that is bigger, you know, in the market. Yeah, almost that ecosystem, and really be able to reap some of the benefits from, you know, being efficient, you know, as they run their businesses. And so I'll give you an example.
I'm going to interrupt you.
You're going to interrupt me. I knew you were going to interrupt me. I knew you were going to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rams. Appreciate it.
This is where we live it on the Entrepreneurial SME. And from me, Rams Mabote, who's much more educated. Good night and God bless.
Telkom Business, behind South African businesses' drive to thrive.